I've always had this question. You're an MMA guy, obviously. So the NFL, the concussion thing, I think is because if they start acknowledging it, really, they got to go all the way back in time and deal with ex-players and things like that. MMA guys get hit in the face every 2 seconds.
Yep.
Are they just released? Is that why no one ever talks about concussions in MMA? But in football, it's a huge discussion?
I think in football, it was never known, whereas in boxing, it was always punch drunk. Everybody always knew about it. So I think you thought going into it that this was a risk that you were taking if you wanted to be a fighter. So I think the thought behind it was, look, everybody knows what happened to Muhammad Ali. Everybody saw Joe Frazier at the end of his career. Everybody saw all these guys who could barely talk, who used to be these great, great fighters. And everybody who was aware, who's in the game, said, look, you got to talk to your fighters when it's time to leave, and you got to be aware of the risks, but you know what you're getting into when you get into it. You know, just like, you know, if a guy is a BMX jumper and he does those flips on dirt bikes and then he falls and fucking breaks his neck, like, you know, he knew that was it's on the menu.
Yeah, I get it. You know the risk going into it, where football,
I think they didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't think people really knew.
And he hit it.
Yeah.
Goodell hit it.
Yes. Yeah. How did they hide it?
I mean, I believe they buried the surveys, at least from that movie Concussion with Will Smith.
Yeah. I didn't watch that movie.
Yeah.
But I've seen that guy, the original doctor, that was the motivation of that movie.
Yeah. I think they buried a lot of it, release their own, control it. I mean, I've had my issues with the NFL. I think they're like maybe the most powerful group there is.
It's various players have filed lawsuits against the league for the concussions, accusing the league of hiding information that linked to head trauma and permanent brain damage, Alzheimer's disease, and dementia. Some teams choose not to draft certain players in the NFL draft due to their past concussion history.
And I think that's part of the problem moving forward with it a little bit, is if you admit it or change, you have this laundry list of lawsuits that can come forward then.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But the more the information comes out, it kind of traps them. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, you have to admit that all those other players.
Yeah, well, I think according to what we just read and from the way I understand it, you got to slant it like it's new information. Like, well, we didn't know, so we didn't know that, so how can you hold us responsible? If they can prove, well, you did know that and you hit it, then I think you got a lot of issues.
When did they know? When did they first find out about it?
A lot of that's in the movie, but there's different studies.
The NFL tried to intimidate scientists studying the link between pro football and traumatic brain injury. This is in 2017. Rather than honestly deal with its burgeoning concussion problem, the National Football League went after the reputation of the first doctor to link the sport to degenerative brain disease he named chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So it was back in 2002. And
I think that's the guy,
doctor. Yeah, Dr. Bennett Omalu. Yeah. Yeah, it's real, man. And I think with football, it's probably even more pronounced because if you think about what they're doing, they're running full clip into each other. So you have these giant super athletes, 300-pound guys capable of generating preposterous amounts of power and force. And they're just fucking boom.
The flip side, I think 99% would sign up for that anyways. Like, I've always said that. If you told me I could be one of those people. Now, maybe not now, because I don't know about you. Like, I didn't dream I'd have the life I had now, but for 99.9% of Americans, I would think being a star athlete football player is worth that risk. I think most of them, even if you said you may get a concussion, you may get brain damage from doing this, they'd still probably do it. I mean, you live a life that you really can't compare to from when you're 15 years old or whenever you start being that athlete to well into your 40s. Yeah, the end of your life is going to suck, but not people don't look forward to that. Like, people don't worry about what's going to happen to them generally when you're 20 at 50.
Yeah, they don't think about it. They also think about
Jimmy Buffett quote, content to be living and dying in 3/4 time.
Yeah.
That's that. It's like live your fullest when you can live.
Yeah, and that life, I mean, the life of living a star NFL football player's life That's a crazy life. You're driving around in a Rolls Royce. You got diamonds on your
everything.
fingers. You like Joe Namath showing up with a fur coat
Yeah.
on. Like, you're
So
the fucking man.
If someone said you can do that, but at age 50, you're going to have unbelievable problems.
People don't think about that.
And I would generally, most people would sign that contract. If you told me I was still cold calling my 9 to 5, I'd be like, sign me up. I'm not worrying about 50.
Yeah. And they also think, by the time I'm 50, someone's going to figure out how to fix that.
Yes.
There's always like this thought of like medical interventions, stem cells,
Yep.
and hyperbaric chambers.
Everything. Your office.
Mm-hmm.
come to Joe Rogan's office.
Yeah, I think that people don't generally think about the risks in terms of the future. They think, how do I feel right now? You know, especially fighters. And the glory of winning a fight, the glory of getting your hand raised, it's so above and beyond normal life experiences that even guys who have, you know, taken some shots and probably do feel the effects, they take a few months off and they want to get back in there again because it's so much more exciting than regular life.